Hey, here we go. Here we go. News is starting to come out. Ian Rapoport and Mike Garafolo, both of the NFL Network, are reporting that Aaron Glenn is set to meet in person with the New York Jets. Of course, Rapoport does go on to point out that Glenn is also getting a second in-person interview with the New Orleans Saints. I mean, who could have saw that coming, right? The two teams that are, listed as the quote-unquote perfect fits for Aaron Glenn, both are bringing him back for second interviews. And by the way, in person here. So no more virtual Zoom quick interviews or anything like that. These are going to be the in-depth ones. These are like the big dog types of interviews, right? All hands on deck, questions about the future, questions about the vision, questions about the roster, questions about how to build, questions about how to establish a culture. Of course, every team has different wants and needs and whatnot. But look, if we're just being 100% objective here, Aaron Glenn makes sense for the Saints. Aaron Glenn makes sense for the Jets. There's multiple connections with both franchises. And we've talked a lot about this, but if Aaron Glenn wants to go with New Orleans, I think it'd be a great hire. If Aaron Glenn wants to go with the New York Jets, I do think it would be an awesome hire. My number one thing that I wanted from the Jets coaching search this cycle, right? My number one candidate was, I want the best leader. I want the best culture changer. The New York Jets, I would say, have the worst culture in football. It's god awful. The finger pointing, the excuse making, the justification of losses, it is ridiculous. And I cannot stand it. I want to see this team battle back, fight, scratch and claw, hustle to the football, right? Not mailing it in on the season, not giving up. I don't like that at all. And that's, I feel like, what we saw from the majority of the 2024 New York Jets. Storylines, headlines, athletic articles, ownership question marks, right? There's only so much that you can handle or so much that you can change, rather, as a head coach and general manager, right? A new regime coming in, but it's been done. It can be done. Look at the Washington Commanders this season. So I'll say this in regards to, if you're splitting hairs here, if you're Aaron Glenn, again, he's coached in New Orleans, he's played in New Orleans, he's part of the Sean Payton coaching tree, he's worked with, he's been around great coaches, and he's worked hand in hand with Mickey Loomis as well. So there is that familiar face, with Mickey. Obviously, sticking as general manager, he's been there forever, crazy. And then with the Jets, right? Knows Mike Tannenbaum, played for the Jets, knows the organization, knows the media, knows what it takes. Parcells connection, right? There's a lot of different things that you can say for both franchises, but if you're splitting hairs, the Jets don't have a GM. Glenn, according to reports, likes Loomis. So does that give the Saints maybe a leg up? Of course, there's other factors, roster, what division you play in, what conference you play in, things of that, ownership, obviously. Money, contract length, things of that nature. But I'll say this. You can flip it. On one hand, you can say, all right, well, the Saints already have a GM that Glenn likes and respects and has worked with it in the past. He knows how the Saints do business. With the Jets, we don't have a GM. But what's the one thing that we've seen from this Jets team, or sorry, not from this Jets team, from reporters about this Jets team time and time again this cycle? The Jets could hire a head coach first. Could the Jets hire Glenn and then use Glenn's knowledge and preference on who he wants as GM? We've talked to Spielman, Tannenbaum, the 33rd team, Woody, Chris Johnson. They've talked to 3 general manager candidates that have direct links to Aaron Glenn. The first, Chris Spielman from the Detroit Lions. That would be crazy, right? Chris Spielman, Aaron Glenn connection. We talked a lot about that. I did a whole separate video on that, I think a week or two ago. Man, that feels so similar to like a Dan Campbell hire in Detroit, right? Like, we're sick and tired of losing. We're going to come in and turn this thing around. There's no questions. Like, it's going to happen. Former players running the show, hard-nosed mentality. I don't want to use the word big ego or arrogant, but guys that have full confidence and belief in themselves. I mean, that gets you fired up. The second is Lance Newmark, assistant general manager of the Washington Commanders, 26 years with the Detroit Lions. He's been a part of a insane turnaround with the Lions, working with Aaron Glenn. He's been a part of an insane turnaround in Washington, seeing what's going on this season with Dan Quinn and Jaden Daniels, obviously. I mean, just what a season from Washington, right? So you have Newmark, you have Spielman, and then, of course, Brian Game, who was he was actually a part of the New York Jets when Glenn was a player with the Jets. So you have two guys that would be familiar with the organization. I think all three make sense. I really think all three make sense. I would be actually pretty pumped with all three. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. And as always, go Jets.